All right, so Robbie, you are our first presenter. So everyone else, please make sure looks like everyone's looking good with mics muted and videos off. Robbie, please go ahead, unmute yourself. I will mute myself and turn off my video. And then Robbie, whenever you are ready, you may begin first introduce yourself, and then go ahead and you can start your presentation.
Okay. Hi, I'm Robbie Whitmer. And yeah. So I did my Westcott project. What is Westcott? Westcott was the concept proposal where California Adventure stands today. Basically, it's Epcot and Disney World in California instead. And in Westcott, we wanted to create the World Showcase if Westcott existed. So we all chose a country in my class, and we just created a pavilion for it. So I chose Australia. Australia has a population of 24.99 million people, about 3 people per kilometer. And its major languages are 73% English, 2.5% Mandarin, and 24.5% just other. Major religions are 47.2% Christian, 2.6% Buddhism, and Hinduism. So, designing a pavilion. My story was the relationship between the wildlife and humans. So, I wanted to create a pavilion that displayed both sides of Australia, because the wildlife is really important to Australia. And I created a layout for my pavilion in the top right corner. I drew kind of like what I wanted it to look like, and my major restaurants and shops and stuff. So architecture. So I chose older outback looking buildings, unlike modern Australian, like just normal modern buildings, I guess. So I chose these older type buildings because they brought more character. And the shark jaw is kind of what I wanted to use for my entrance to my ride. Landscape. So what I needed in Australia was outback plants and terrain, and I wanted to incorporate the Great Barrier Reef into this pavilion as well. So I did a mixture of outback and marine type landscape. Sound design. I chose for my sound effects didgeridoos in the background, and my music I chose Waltzing Matilda to kind of just play in the back. And Waltzing Matilda, I chose that because it's a really important song, I guess, to the Australian people. And my soundscape is just some wildlife sounds in the background. Menu. So each of us had to create our own menu with certain foods from the country. So for my appetizer, I had meat pie. My main course, I had chicken parmigiana, I don't know how to say it. And then dessert, I had Anzac biscuits. Beverages, I chose wine, soft drinks, and Australian national drink, which I'm pretty sure is just alcoholic lemonade. My mood board was basically the way that I would tell the story of my pavilion. So I wanted to display the relationship between wildlife and people. And this is basically just a representation of like every element that my pavilion has that I can combine to get one smooth pavilion flow. So then I had to design an attraction, and I chose to do a dark ride. And a dark ride is an indoor amusement ride on which guests experience a story through various scenes within a show building. Basically, a dark ride is a ride inside a building that you get full control of lights and sound. Creative process. So in order to create my ride, I had to pick different scenes. So I created a storyboard. You can see it on the top. I created those different scenes that I would use to create a scale model later. And I had to choose between a bunch of different rides to do, but I settled on like a scuba diving ride, I guess, to the Great Barrier Reef. And in my creative process, I got class feedback and I did a lot of brainstorming. So ride system. I needed to find a way to get people inside a building to make it feel underwater, with still having some water elements. So I used a boat ride system. And basically, it just moves freely through a river environment. And that is a picture of It's a Small World, because that was a ride in Disney World that has a river type system like that I wanted to use. And the boat holds about 12 people per ride. And so ride layout and testing. We used this cool ride layout simulator, which you created your track and you added the scenes and time. And so in total, my ride duration was about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And the capacity per hour was about 2,160 people with 4 different scenes. Here's my scale model that I built in a cardboard box. And it's kind of just what I wanted my ride to look like. I wanted it to be like the Great Barrier Reef, I guess. Project lessons. Some of the most challenging moments of my project were that I had to do it over distance learning, I guess. And it was harder to get help in order to do it. And I changed from my original project, I guess, a little bit, because originally I was doing China, but apparently they already had a pavilion, so I had to choose a different country. Thank you. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robbie. That was wonderful. Great job. I really enjoyed the scuba diving through the Great Barrier Reef ride. That sounded awesome. So to my audience members, now if you guys have questions, please feel free to use that raise your hand feature. Robbie, I'm going to ask you to hop back on your video, unmute yourself so we can still see you as people ask you questions. So if you have a question, please feel free to raise your virtual hand and I will call on you. All right, well, Robbie, while maybe some of our people think about their questions, I have a question for you. Why did you elect to present your Westcott project over your Genius Hour project?
Because my Genius Hour project was at school, and so I couldn't really do it over distance learning, so I had to do this.
Gotcha. So what was that original Genius Hour project?
It was building a Rube Goldberg machine.
Oh, gotcha. So how did that transition go for you from regular school to distance learning with that Rube Goldberg project? Can you tell me about some of that process and like your decision to go with the Westcott project instead?
So I did it with a group of other people too, so we couldn't really continue it at distance learning, and so it was pretty easy to switch to my Westcott project because it was really the only one I could do.
Gotcha. Yeah, that definitely makes it more challenging doing a group project, especially with Rube Goldberg, where you kind of need to be in person when we're doing social distancing. I can see that being a challenge. Great. Does anyone else have questions for Robbie? Okay, so if there's no other questions, then we're going to take just like a 1-minute break if anyone needs to stretch, grab a drink of water, whatever you might need to do. And Fallon, you are up next, so you can start getting your presentation ready and getting set up. All right, Fallon, are you ready?
Indeed, I am.
Awesome.
Hello.
Awesome, thank you. So you can start by introducing yourself, and then when you're ready, go ahead and screen share and take it away for us.
All right. Hello, my name is... I didn't screen share. Sorry. Just one moment.
You're fine.
Did it work?
We still see you. Maybe it's still sharing, but I don't see your screen quite yet. Ooh, here, I think it's coming. There you go.
Okay. Hello, my name is Fallon Rooney, and today we will be talking about banks. First things first, what are banks? Well, we know that banks keep money safe and loan out money, or in fancier terms, a bank is a financial institution that accepts deposits from the public and creates credit. But why do we have banks, you may ask? We have banks to keep money safe and to provide a source of money in the form of loans. But if banks are giving away money, how do they profit? Let's say that I deposited $1,000 into the bank. The bank will give me a tiny bit of interest when I put my deposit into the bank. The bank then is going to hold about 10% or $100 of my money in case someone withdraws. Afterwards, they loan out the other 90% or $900 to people in need of money to start up new businesses or whatever their needs are. This is called fractional reserve banking. After about a month, they must start to pay back the loan with some interest. Now, as we said before, I get a tiny amount of interest when I put my deposit in the bank. This person who borrows needs to pay a lot more interest than what I get. The bank keeps the difference between the two, and there you go. The bank has now earned some, I have earned a teeny bit, and the borrower is possibly earning some from their new business or whatever they did with that money. Coming back to the fractional reserve banking, another aspect of it is the money multiplier, which is to say that by using the fractional reserve banking, the effective amount of money circulating in this community is increased. Usually, using the fractional reserve banking, the amount of money that circulates in the community is much more than the original deposit. For example, let's say someone put in $100 into the bank. The bank will keep $1,000 on reserves and loan out $9,000. And this would have to work just this way for the money multiplier to work. Let's say that someone bought a car. The car dealer would then put the $9,000 back into the bank. The bank would keep $900 on them and loan out the other $8,100. This will continue on until the effective amount of money that circulates in the community based on a single deposit can be calculated by an equation called the money multiplier, which is where you multiply the amount of the deposit by 1 over the fractional reserve, or in this case, 10,000 times 1 over 0.1 or 10%, in which would be 100,000. That is a lot more than what we started off with. This is good and all, but what if the bank fails and can't pay back your money? Well, that's where the FDIC steps in, or the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. The FDIC protects your money by ensuring that you get your money back if the bank fails. The limit that they can give you is $250,000 per account. This is an example of a healthy and thriving banking community. The public is depositing money into the banks. The banks are loaning out money to the public, and in case the bank fails, the FDIC is here to support them. Now, recently we've been living through a medical and financial crisis, which has put a big strain on the banking system. The reason for this is that a large fraction of our population has lost their jobs because businesses can't function normally. And so if the public do not have their jobs, they deposit very little into the banks, and that means that the banks have very little to loan out into the public. And the little that they do, they have to be very careful because, like we said before, the public are losing their jobs. They most likely won't be able to pay them back. Now, for the people who already have loans, they're in a bit of trouble because if they've lost their jobs, they can't pay the bank back, in which case they're in even deeper debt. In this environment, our whole banking system could fail. To prevent that from happening, our government has passed special bills to make money available to people and small businesses, and that has helped to lessen the impact of coronavirus on our economy. That is the end of the slideshow, although during this process I have learned a lot about how banks, the economy, and money works. I even got to use some of my new math skills that I learned this year. I would like to give a special thanks to my mom, uncle, and my two teachers, Mr. Weiss and Miss Mackenzie, for helping me create this talk. That is all I have to share.
Wow, Fallon, thank you so much. That was really incredible, really fascinating and thoughtful, and I love how I can tell you really put a lot of time and thought into it, so great job. I would now like to open up questions to our audience. So again, audience, if you have questions, please use your virtual hand raiser and I will call on you. And don't forget to unmute yourself so you can ask questions. Isa, go ahead.
Why did you choose to talk about banks?
Because I did not know what I wanted to talk about, so I guess the real reason is that I wanted to be prepared for my future life in the best way that I can, and I saw that a good way to do that was by studying the economy, because I know that's a pretty big part of growing up.
Yeah, very cool, Fallon. I mean, definitely something that I think we could all learn a lot from, and I learned a lot just from your presentation. So I'm impressed, and thank you for sharing all of that. Does anyone else have questions for Fallon? Isa, I still see you have your hand up. Do you have another question, or are you just stretching that arm?
No, I don't have another question, sorry.
It's okay. Fallon, I have a question for you. So obviously you talked a little bit about coronavirus and that, which was awesome. Were there any other changes to your original plan due to distance learning and with the coronavirus?
Well, originally I was planning to make a PowerPoint and a poster, but that didn't really work out because of the online sharing.
Sure, totally.
I will say coronavirus has given me a bit more to talk about, if that's something, but other than that, not much.
Cool. Well, thank you. Last call in, any questions for Fallon? All right. Well, that was so wonderful. Thank you so much, Fallon. You can unshare and feel free, audience, to take a little 1-minute break, have that stretch, grab a drink of water, whatever you might need. All right, and Issa, you are our next presenter. So go ahead and get your PowerPoint up, get yourself ready. And when you are ready, Issa, feel free to unmute and start your video.
Okay, hi. So before we begin, I want you guys to please think of a time where you really wanted something, but you just couldn't have it. It hurts, right? Well, there are tons of children out there who want to take a dance class, but they just can't. It could be financial issues or who knows what. That is why my Genius Hour is so special to me. Hi, I'm Isabella Costa, and I've been dancing for 9 years. I can't imagine my life without dance. This is why, again, my Genius Hour is so special to me. For my Genius Hour, I created a program called Chance to Dance. It provides kids with the opportunity to take a dance class and provides all the supplies. Why? Well, like I said before, I've been dancing for 9 years. It brings me so much joy, and I want to share that with everyone. My first objective was to provide ballet outfits and other supplies. These things would include leotards, slippers, tights, and any hair products that they might need. I also didn't want the kids worrying about this because I didn't want to worry them on purchasing anything that I could provide them. Next, I needed to plan the classes. These things would include what I would teach and how I would teach them. My last objective was to have the dates ready to teach the class and then teach the class. Unfortunately, though, COVID-19 came and I wasn't able to finish any of this for Genius Day, but my Genius Hour will still go into the summer. So my biggest success was creating the products. I made a doll, stickers, and some watercolors. So this is one of the dolls I made. They took pretty long time, but I think they ended up looking really nice. I sold 4 of them. Here are my stickers, and they are of the logo that I designed, and here are my watercolors. I was also able to sell all my products to friends and family, getting me about $450. This money will then be used to go for the supplies needed. Some downfalls were that Misty Copeland didn't respond. Misty Copeland, for those of you who do not know, is a professional and a very successful ballet dancer. I sent her a message asking her for some pointers on how I should go about teaching my classes, but she didn't respond. All is well though, because thanks to quarantine, I was able to get a class with another professional dancer named Daniel Albright, and I took notes of how he taught his class, which was very helpful. I also had location difficulties. Originally, my classes were going to be at the Ronald McDonald House, but kids are coming in and out of there every day, which was going to make it quite difficult for me to get an average height and age group of the materials I should buy. I was thinking of doing the St. Margaret shelter. I also had donation difficulties. When I was going to ask for donations at other dance studios for leotards and all those things, quarantine came up and gave me a big nope. I kind of started to panic at the beginning of this because I knew I was going to have to get a lot more products and sell a lot more, but thanks to friends and family, that is all solved too. My project will also now be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because my family is moving there this summer. And so I'm going to have to find a new charity and everything there too. What now? Well, now I have to find a new charity in Albuquerque, New Mexico that I think will work for my project. Then I need to get the ages of the students for all the supplies. Then I need to find a day to teach the class, and finally teach the class. What I learned about myself. Well, I learned that I can be kind of shy when it comes to sharing my ideas with others and especially with my family. But I also learned that this is very important because they can help me improve and they can support me. Without them, my Genius Hour and all the products wouldn't have been able to happen. Before this experience, I also didn't really know what people meant by when one door closes, another one opens. After this, I think I have a pretty good idea of what it means now. Obviously, the closing door was all the donations and was quarantine and not getting everything done for Genius Day. But it was another one opened was the part where Daniel Albright was able to teach my class even though Misty Copeland didn't respond. Any questions? Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Isa. Your presentation was very well prepared and organized and wonderful. So I'm going to open it up to questions to the audience. And Isa, if you want to unshare your screen so we can see your face, that would be wonderful. Thank you. And then audience, make sure you use that virtual hand raising and don't forget to unmute yourself. Ben, go ahead. I see you've got a question.
Hi, Isa. It's Nikki Brandt. I loved your presentation. You did a great job, and your doll was beautiful. I can't believe you created that. I mean, I can't believe you created it, but it just looks really good. My question is, are you teaching ballet or other types of dance, or what was your plan for what type of class you were going to teach?
I was planning to do a ballet class with 7 to 15 kids. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, good luck in Albuquerque. We'll miss you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, Isa. With those 7 to 15 kids that you're teaching ballet to, would you be doing it like multiple classes or just once?
I would be doing 3 classes.
3 classes. Cool. Awesome. Mr. Kirsch, do you have a question?
Hey, Isa.
Hi.
That was awesome. Good job.
Thank you.
Are dolls and stickers and stuff still for sale?
The stickers and the watercolored mountains are, yes.
Okay, so those can still be purchased to help raise more money for your cause?
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I'm so pumped. This was one of my favorite projects just because of how ambitious I think it was. And the fact that you had to roll with so many different punches with not being able to get out in the community to try and find a place to do this, and just your ability to adapt was pretty awesome to see. So I'm really proud of you.
Thanks.
You are welcome.
Cool. Isa, I have one more question for you. So you said it's kind of hard to share your ideas with your family, and that can be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
You also reached out to some, sounds like some pretty big name people in the dance community. Was it also intimidating to reach out to Misty Copeland and the other person, or less so, more so? What did you feel about that?
I feel like it wasn't as hard to share it with Misty Copeland because it was through a message and I didn't have to worry. Like, if she just didn't care, like, she wouldn't say anything back. It would just be like, she wouldn't respond in a way. Mm-hmm. And the other dancer was just a class that my previous dance teacher helped me organize with a bunch of other girls.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's almost a little less intimidating when you don't know the person as well, and if they don't get back to you, it's just like, oh well, maybe my email went into their junk email. Yeah. Well, good job reaching out. That's awesome. Does anyone else have any questions for Isa? All right, thank you so much, Isa. You can turn off your video now, take a deep breath. And then Ben and Nikki, you can put your virtual hand down. Thank you. We'll take a little, again, 1 minute break. And then Liam, you will be up next. So stretch the legs, grab a drink of water, and then maybe we'll take a little longer break after Liam because that'll be kind of halfway through our presentations. All right, Liam, when you are ready, feel free to unmute yourself and turn on your video.
Okay, so I'm Liam Darcy, and my project was typing up a Google Documents, typing on Google Documents, and I wrote a story. It's a science fiction novel, and so yeah, I'm gonna screen share. All right, is it working?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So, writing the corruption novel. So, as I said before, my Genius Time project was planning out in writing a science fiction novel on Google Documents called The Corruption. And so, let's start with the basics. So, a science fiction novel is a novel in which the time is present day or the future, most often the future. And in science fiction novels, characters usually live in a different time period and maneuver through a different world in which the planet Earth, or more planets, have high-tech machinery or scant amounts of tech, depending on the state of time period of which the author decides. So science fiction novels are often very action-packed, as readers are plunged into a new world in time as several characters play out a story in this different world. So usually, when authors create these worlds, they almost always get inspiration from something else. For example, one author might visit a certain country and study its customs, then modify it in a way that can make something in their book. Like, for example, taking the heat of Saudi Arabia and making so that in their story, Saudi Arabia could be like a desert world where nomads and monks fight over resources. So these were some of the sources of inspiration that I got for writing my science fiction novel. So there's Dungeons and Dragons, which is a role-playing game with dice and pieces of paper. And then the common superhero franchises, The Flash and the Green Arrow. And you can see a picture of Green Arrow right here. And those were some other inspirations because of their confidence and how their calmness in battle really inspired me to make some of my characters in my story that way. And then some movies and another game. The Star Wars, I'm pretty sure you all know what that is. Common science fiction. Then there's The Matrix, which is also science fiction. And The Matrix is a really good movie about computers and a lot of cool stuff. And then Rogue Trader is another role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, except it takes place with spaceships, not with like battle axes and dragons, like Dungeons and Dragons. So, some things about inspiration. When you receive sources of inspiration, you need to make sure to modify them in your own original way, or it may come out as plagiarism or the copy, basically copying it word for word. And you can get sued for that and be in financial trouble. So after this, you need to figure out your characters. And so you need to come up with your characters. And each character needs to have some description, no matter how minuscule, of who they are and what their personality is. And the main character, or the protagonist, must be described much better than the rest of the characters. And the reader must have a clear picture of who this person is and what they are thinking. You also must come up with an antagonist, or an enemy or adversary of the protagonist, or your main character. This antagonist can be another character, some mysterious prophecy, or even the main character's thoughts. You also must provide a clear picture of who the antagonist is as well. Basically, some things you need to take into consideration when creating your own characters is you need to know what the main character's thoughts, personality, and tendency are. So you need to know what they look like, what they act like, and what they tend to do. And then you also must have side characters, or if you'd like, and they need to describe well enough for the reader to conjure a picture of who they are. So you need to know if they're nice, if they're mean, if they're quiet, if they're silent, anything. Basically, you just need to make some picture of who they are. And you don't have to make it too big, depending on how much you want that character to appear in the book. Now, here's a character that I thought was a good example from one of my favorite books called Mortal Engines. Basically, one of the main characters is named Hester Shaw, and The Mortal Engines was written by Philip Reeve. And basically, Hester Shaw is a murderous girl who must struggle to control her hate and anger to protect the ones she cares about, and she often fights her own thoughts, which I think is a really cool antagonist and protagonist creation. And so that's an example of a character. Okay, after this, you must plan out your story. So you must make a few rising actions. For example, a war starting. Then a spaceship pilot crashes on a planet where the war is going on. Then the pilot discovers, etc. So basically, you can make these rising actions separate from each other, but they must all eventually intertwine later in the story, like making different mysteries appear until finally they all make sense, and then the pinnacle happens, and that's an example of rising actions. You also must make sure to describe the world that the characters live in, so the reader can understand the background of the story. And after creating these rising actions, you must plan out the pinnacle of the story, or the climax. The typical climax is the most action-packed part of the story, as the protagonist and the antagonist fight one epic battle. An example, the pilot grabbed the sword from the display case in the ancient cavernous museum. The prophecy had come true. The timeline would be ruptured by the ancient evil. The inky, shadowy monster closed in on him, consuming everything it walked through. The pilot felt an energy surge through him, and he charged towards the dreadful monster. And after this, you can create a resolution, which is basically the consequences of the climax. So what happens after the climax? So what I learned during Genius Time. Throughout the process of Genius Time, I not only improved my writing skills, also discovered countless new strategies to writing novels and what to put into account when creating a world original created that your characters interact with. And when I was writing this book, I found that it was kind of tedious to get all of your ideas on paper, because I had so many ideas for this story, and you can only put so much on a piece of pieces of paper. So you have to keep connecting with your sources of inspiration to keep that inner drive to write aglow. And so you must keep writing, and you have to get all your ideas on the paper, but your ideas can sometimes be bigger than what you visualize in reality. And then finally, I made a little book preview, and I'll read it here. Okay. Whoops. Welcome to the Milky Way 2082. New worlds have been discovered, and the rest of the original solar system has been colonized by humans and new species alike. In the aftermath of a dread war, humankind is facing an unknown threat. On the far-off frigid planet of Vex, a bounty hunter comes to realize that there's more to himself than he thought. He may be the only one that can stop what the ancient legends predicted. Descended to a futuristic world as a secret society, the most talented warriors in the Milky Way gather to fight an almighty evil and the hardships that a dangerous galaxy can inflict, including cultists, monsters, space pirates, firing gunships, and an unknown race. And then that's the end of the slideshow, and through writing this book, I not only had fun and learned a lot, but I also learned that, I learned a colossal amount of new knowledge about literacy and the like. I encourage you to try to increase your writing skills as well as your creativity by coming up with your own story and try to put your ideas down for people to read. And that's it. And that's the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Liam. There's a lot that goes into writing a novel. I hadn't even realized all those things. Sounds like a lot of research went into it on your end. And as you kind of mentioned, it sounds pretty like tedious and time consuming to actually get down and write a novel and keep that inspiration throughout the whole thing.
And
Mhm.
yeah, and then this is the book right here. Doesn't have a cover yet because I don't really have much time during this distance learning to make a cover for it. But yeah, you can see.
Wait, can you unscreen share so we can see you a little bit better, please?
Yeah. So this is the story. It's basically just a set of documents, and you can see I wrote about 37 pages, and they had about this much text on each page. And I never did finish it, but I did get about half of it done, because, like I said, it can become hard to keep writing after getting most of your ideas on the paper. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But that sounds like a pretty big accomplishment, getting half of it written in 37 pages. Great job.
Yeah.
I would like to open it up to any questions from the audience members. Please feel free to raise that virtual hand. And then once you have raised it, don't forget to unmute yourself. Yeah, Ben and Nikki.
Hi, Liam. I thought you did a great job presenting, and I'd love to read your book when it's done. I was just wondering if this is something you'll continue, or would you want to write a book again, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I might. I think I have enough ideas to write at least 3 books, but I think I might continue this over the summer and might finish the first one. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, that's awesome to keep going and be able to finish it over the summer. That would be very cool and very impressive, and something to be very proud of if you had that final product. I can imagine that would feel really good. Isa.
Are you planning to publish, like once you finish the book, do you plan to publish it or something?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There's this thing on Amazon where you can like self-publish it. But I don't think I will anymore because I never really did finish it, and it didn't turn out how I wanted exactly. I still think it's good, but it didn't turn out as I wanted, so I was thinking about that, but I don't think I will anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm sure it's hard to like always get that perfect final product, and which ones do you maybe push forward and try to publish versus maybe try writing another one and publish the second one you try to write.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other questions from our audience? All right. Well, thank you, Liam. So we are 45 minutes into this, halfway through our presenters. So I'm going to let's take a little bit longer, like a 3-minute break on this one. So if you do need to get up, use the bathroom, do what you need to do. So if it's like 10:46 right now, I will restart at 10:49 with Michael and the clothing company. If anyone has any individual questions for me, feel free to reach out. All right. Well, there was a 3-minute break there. I hope everyone maybe got the bathroom break or water that they needed. I know I did. So, Michael, you are up next. So, Michael, when you are ready, if you can unmute yourself and turn on your video.
Hi, I'm Michael Lynch, and for Genius Hour this year, I created a clothing company. So, I created a clothing company this year. My clothing company was called Lynchberry because my last name is Lynch, and it just kind of floats together. My mission was to give 50% of all profits to local charities helping people in need. The customers would have been able to choose a charity when they make their purchase. My vision was to establish my business as a giving organization and also encourage others to give back to their community. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, that is the design that I chose for my shirts. So for my business, I needed to silk screen shirts, and the silk screen steps was I illustrated the design on the computer. I used Adobe Illustrator. I created a template, which is basically just a thin piece of plastic with my design cut into it. I then purchased silk screen equipment and materials. Then I printed the template onto a silk screen. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen, this is a silk screen. I then placed the silk screen into the silk screen apparatus, placed the shirt into the silk screen apparatus. The shirt was on a board to make sure it was flat and didn't have any curves, so the design would come out good. I then poured fabric ink onto the template and pressed ink onto the shirt. I did this by flooding the screen with my squeegee and then pressing it into the shirt. Then I let the shirt dry for 1 hour, and then I heat set it with an iron on low temperature. My designs were, you can see the first one was a thin handmade drawing. Then I made it just thicker, basically, but that had a problem getting onto the shirt, so I just used a normal font, and yeah. This is silkscreen by hand. This is the silkscreen apparatus. You can see there's the squeegee and there's the ink that I used. I used Speedball ink. You can see this is me. And you can see right there is my logo, and I used silver. So I also made a flyer, and it says buy a shirt or hoodie to help a charity of your choice, because at Lynchberry we believe in helping charities instead of blatant branding. You can see there's the shirt and there's a hoodie down there, and it says if you would like to buy one, contact us at lynchberry@gmail.com, and it says stay safe Lynchberry because I made this when quarantine started to happen. And you can see in the bottom left hand of the flyer, it says 50% of all proceeds go to charity helping people in need. Then the prices, there are t-shirts are $10, long sleeve t-shirts. Long sleeve shirts are $15, hoodies are $25, and it's available in all sizes. So the amount of shirts sold, I sold 15 in total. I sold 3 to my family and 12 to a local startup company. And the gross profit was $150, and the charity donations were $75. The donations were made to Hutton Settlement Children's Home and Northwest Autism Center. And this is me, and you can see the silk screen equipment there, and I'm holding one of my shirts that I made. Aperture Biotechnologies is the local startup company that bought 12 shirts from us. Before Aperture Biotechnologies, I just made Lynchberry shirts, but then with Aperture, I made a custom design for them. And yeah, they donated to the Northwest Autism Center. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to buy a shirt, email me at lynchberry@gmail.com. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you, Michael. I love the Lynchberry name. That is awesome. Good job on your project and on your presentation. I'm going to open it up first to Any of our audience that has questions for you, audience, remember, feel free to use that virtual hand, and don't forget to unmute yourself. Does anyone have questions? Well, to start off, Michael, I do have a question for you. Was it challenging to do the actual silk screening?
Well, my dad helped, so that made it a little bit easier. It just took a while. The process was just long. It wasn't challenging, I would say.
What part of it was long? Was it like just a long time to dry or push on it, or how does that work?
Well, you have to, like, it takes multiple steps to do it, and you couldn't, like, all do it at the same time, so it just took, like, a while. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Does anyone else have questions? Okay, Michael, I've got another one for you. Could you like define any of your most powerful learning moments? Like, how did you know that was a big learning moment for you during this project?
Well, I did learn how to silkscreen, so that was nice. I also just, I also learned how to, like, really make, like, start a business kind of and create different designs, I guess.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot that goes into from buying the supplies to make the shirts and actually making them, selling them, gathering those profits, and then having to donate that. I'm sure there's quite a few steps that maybe you don't realize at first when you're just like, oh, I'm going to make t-shirts, and then it turns into quite a few things that you have to do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. I don't see anyone else that has questions at this point, so you can unshare or stop doing your video. We'll take just that 30-second break. If anyone needs to stretch their legs, grab water. All right, and Holland, when you are ready, you are up next. So feel free to unmute yourself and start your video.
Okay, hold on.
No problem.
Okay, come on, load. Okay, Genius Hour, cover relief during COVID-19 by me. Late at night, an artist slumps over his work, sketching out each panel with the utmost care, drawing each character to perfection, making sure everything is just right. Exhausted, he pushes his hair off his forehead and looks at his clock. Finally, he goes to bed. The comic is exactly the way it needs to be, each thing to the utmost perfection, the labors of the artist's hard work. Think I'm exaggerating? Think again. Come on. Okay. My motivation. I was really excited at first and filled with tons of ideas. I just had this big inspiration burst, and it was just really exciting being caught up in this new thing. I personally love comics. I read them a lot, and they're really fun to read. I loved the concept and combined two interests of mine, which is writing and drawing. And my original goal was to spread laughter. Was to create 5 good comic strips that spread laughter and joy throughout it. Okay, first I created my 2 characters, and then I developed their personalities. Then I drew a character profile, which is basically just a full body sketch and then different headshots of them doing different expressions. Then I wrote out the gag, and then I drew and inked it. Okay, so this is my first comic, which I got done in, I think, around February, which was behind schedule, but at least it was done. So this is our main character, Malcolm, and this is his friend, Lindsay. And Malcolm is just kind of this stereotypical guy. I don't know. I was just kind of going for a blah personality. And then Lindsay is very cynical and naggy and just this kind of sarcastic person. Yeah. So I did end up losing my motivation. I started running out of ideas extremely early on. The inspiration burst did not last long. And I forgot frequently, and it was kind of hard to catch up on once I was behind. And I did learn a valuable lesson. Don't procrastinate and try not to forget. Because of this, I had to hastily finish the last 2 strips and barely got them done. They were not inked, and it was kind of low quality. If I could go back, I would probably pay more attention to the project, get it done on time, stuff like that. And in the future, I will pay more attention to Genius Hour so that it doesn't end up like this. Zero, come on. Where is it? Okay. Ah, sorry. Okay. Oh my God, where is it? Sorry. Okay, so yes, here's this. And this was my second one. I got done in, I don't know, late February or March. This was making fun of the coronavirus because at the time I thought it was kind of stupid that we had to be locked up because of something no worse than the common cold. So this was just basically making a satire of it. If you don't know what a satire is, it's basically just making fun of something out of exaggeration. And why is this thing? Okay, there we go. Okay, my original objective was to make 5 good comic strips. I did barely succeed at this, and it wasn't very good. So yeah. What got in my way the most was probably the busyness of my normal life. When I first started it, I was also on the basketball team, and this was something brand new for me. I'd never done it. So I got caught up in that and like homework and stuff, and just got caught up in the whirlwind of life. And making the strip ideas was way harder than I thought it would be because I know it was only 5, but it was hard to think of something like strictly school related. As you saw, I kind of, I don't know, swerved off of it. And making the overdue strips, that was a lot of my Genius Hour time, and yeah. My most challenging moment was probably convincing myself whether my comics were good enough. I was extremely self-conscious about them and thought they were not very good. So yeah, that was kind of hard. Oh, okay, here's this. So here is my third one, which I got done late March. And this was making fun of distance learning and procrastination as well because of this. It also shows how naggy Lindsay is. Okay, here's my triumphs. I did end up learning a lot about comics and like how they're made and stuff, and I did get experience for next Genius Hour. I needed to use my expert and mentor more, which I didn't do very much because I forgot they existed. So yeah, and if I was to do this again, I'd probably spend less time on the drawings and more time on the content. Yeah, okay. Now here is one of the strips that I had to get done hastily. As you can see, it's very quickly done and not inked. This is also making fun of COVID because since we're stuck at home, we have to do more stuff. I don't know, I just thought it was funny. Did I skip something? No, I didn't. Okay, will I continue the project? If I would, I wanted to send them to a children's hospital to make the kids laugh. However, I don't think I'll be continuing it. I did lose interest and it just wasn't fun after a while. I liked writing a lot more than drawing, so I might try something more writing related. And I found the drawings very time consuming and was very concerned about their quality. Oops, sorry. Okay. So again, most of you guys know what the I Survived is, but for those of you who don't, it's a book series about a bunch of kids who have survived natural disasters like Mount St. Helens, the Titanic, Civil War, that kind of thing. I just thought it was a jab about how annoying Lindsay was. And I learned that making a comic is a lot harder than it looks, and it was probably that hard for me because usually they have 2 people working on it and I only had 1. It was only me. So yeah, there was that. And I don't think I'm cut out for drawing a comic. I liked writing a lot more. I might try writing a book. Since I have had prior experience writing and enjoyed it a lot more, I feel like that would be something I'd be willing to spend a year on next year. And writing something short and funny is a lot harder than writing something long and funny. So yeah, because when you're writing something short and funny, you got to come up with a new idea again and again and again, like an entirely different idea. And you have to be precise with the words. And that's my PowerPoint.
Awesome. Thank you, Holland. That was great. I loved your comic strips. I thought they were awesome, and I really enjoyed how they related to distance learning and some of the challenges that maybe you faced, as many of us are in distance learning and through this quarantine and COVID-19 times. Holland, if you would turn on your video, please, so our audience can ask you any questions. So audience members, if you have any questions for Holland, please feel free to raise that virtual hand, and then don't forget to unmute yourself. Isa.
Okay, Holland, great job. I was just wondering, what was your favorite part about doing this project?
I don't know, probably, I don't know, just learning a lot about it. It was really fun to learn about.
Cool, nice.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for participating and staying engaged, for those of you guys asking questions. I have a question for you, maybe while some other people think. Holland, so you mentioned that you might try writing a book next time. Do you have any ideas about what you would like to write about?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of different stuff, mainly fantasy, since that's kind of my favorite thing to write about. And they're kind of old ideas, but they're really fun to write about, and I've been doing it a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I can imagine fantasy is fun and exciting. You get to kind of take it anywhere you want, so that would be a fun genre to write about. Great. Are there any other questions for Holland? All right. Thank you, Holland. Great job on your presentation. You can turn off your video now. We'll take that just 30-second break for you guys to stretch, grab water, whatever you might need. All right, and Will, you are up next. So when you're ready, Will, go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your camera.
Okay. Okay, can I start?
Yeah, start by introducing yourself, and then you can screen share and show us your PowerPoint or whatever you might have.
Okay. My name is Will, and for my Genius Hour project, I did drop shipping. Have you ever wondered what it would take to start a profitable business with little time or money? How long would it take? That's why I wanted to experiment in drop shipping to answer that question.
We can't see your PowerPoint yet if you're trying to share it with us.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming. Looks like it's coming now. Awesome.
It's there? Okay.
Yes.
So, one sec. Oh, my bad. Okay, first we have to understand what drop shipping is. To put it in its simplest terms, it's buying an item directly from a seller and shipping it directly to that customer. So this way, I wouldn't be actually buying a product and sending it to my house and then sending it to people. This is good because there's little to no risk in doing this. In any business, the desired outcome is to collect a profit. This entails that I would have to sell products for more than I bought them for. Dropshipping and e-commerce are some of the biggest industries in the world with over $3.4 trillion in value. The reason I wanted to start this project is because I love business and I want to step into my future at a young age. So this is just what drop shipping looks like. The customer passes an order on a website, puts in an order on a website. The retailer will then type in all the shipping information and they'll pay for the product with the money that the customer gave them. The product supplier would then ship it directly to the customer. So here's my business plan.
My business plan entailed that a customer would order something from my site, and I would then proceed to fill out the shipping information on the supplier site. Some great things I learned while making my business plan was that it's not as simple as some people put it. I tried to be more unique with my business plan to separate myself from others in the dropshipping industry. For my website, I used a program called Shopify. This provided an easy, non-expensive way to start a website. I made sure to use lots of bright colors on my site so it would appeal to the younger generation. Designing this site taught me a lot about marketing. During this project, there was a point where I got off track with my website. I did lose a bit of motivation during the year, but I was able to pull through. COVID-19 made all my shipping time and of my products awful, so I decided to hold off on selling anything. My end goal was to be selling products by the end of the year. I didn't quite reach that goal because of the horrible shipping times, and I also just think I need more knowledge on the subject. Because of quarantine, I was not able to seek proper help that I needed to start a clothing company, which was my original project. That's why I started drop shipping hoodies, because I felt it was the closest thing to a full-on clothing business. I wanted to specialize in hoodies rather than any other form of clothing. I made sure to pick products that would connect with my target audience. For example, this floral hoodie is one of the products that I'm going to be selling on my website. So this project taught me a lot about how to run a business. I learned it doesn't take much to start a dropshipping business. You just have to be willing to put in time and work. I'm upset that I was not able to find a mentor. If I were to do this project differently, I would stick to one thing, because I did end up bouncing around to different projects most of the year. But I've learned a lot of things that are going to help me in the future if I do decide I want to run a business when I'm older. This is a pretty fun project to do. I think I'm going to continue it next year. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. What a unique and cool idea. I feel like I learned a lot during that presentation. I did not know much about dropshipping. So thank you for sharing everything you learned. If you want to go ahead and you can stop screen sharing, and then we can see your face, your beautiful face. And the audience, does anyone have questions? Please feel free to use that virtual hand if you would like to ask Will anything.
How do I stop screen sharing?
If you, in the middle of your screen, kind of if you move your mouse, I think you just hit the share button again, and it should now say like stop sharing.
I don't see it.
Do you see the like where it says you can turn camera on or mute yourself?
Oh, yeah.
So it's on that panel, and then one of them should say, mine says share right now, and I would guess yours says like stop sharing.
It says stop presenting.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Now I can see you. All right, my audience members, what questions do we have? Oh, Michael. Yes, thank you.
So, I see you're wearing a hoodie right now. Is that one of your drop hoodies, or?
Oh, no, this is a different one.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Great question. I have a question for you, Will. So you mentioned that you learned a lot about business and some of those concepts. Can you talk about, like, was there just like one or two things that you can mention that you're like, wow, didn't expect this to be one of the things that I needed to do to create this business?
I learned a ton about like marketing. I had to learn a bunch about like what sells to people. So Originally, I was gonna create ads, but I didn't really have enough time to do that.
What did you come to like the conclusion that you thought would like sell well for your business?
Honestly, my target audience was like younger people, so I kind of wanted to sell like trendy products. So
Cool.
I thought that was the best.
Do you have any businesses or companies that you were trying to like model yourself after, or using those as examples, or kind of just on your own?
Not really. I kind of wanted to be unique with this project, so I just kind of wanted to do my own thing.
Very cool. Any other questions from our audience? All right, awesome job, Will. Thank you. You can stop your video sharing and feel free to remute yourself. Everyone else will take another just like 30-second break, stretch those legs, grab some water if you need. All right, Adrian, last but not least, if you are ready, feel free to unmute yourself and turn on your video.
Okay.
Awesome. And then whenever you're ready, just introduce yourself and then start your screen share.
Hello, my name is Adrian Rooney, and my project's 3D printing. So, you know where it says to share video? It says only meeting organizers can do it.
Oh, I don't know why it does say you are a guest. I wonder if... Oh, I'm going to make you a presenter.
Okay.
Let's see if...
There we go.
Cool.
Okay. Have you ever heard of 3D printing? Well, if you have or haven't, let me tell you why it's fun, environmentally friendly, functional, and futuristic. To explain to you all this, I must first tell you the definition of 3D printing. In 3D printing, a design is made on a computer using a special CADing software. The CAD in CADing stands for Computer-Assisted Design. You can make your own designs or use some that other people have made and shared. You then have to transport the coding for that design to a 3D printer. My 3D printer uses a special chip that the code is loaded onto using a USB drive. The 3D printer reads the code and begins to make the object by heating a special filament and depositing it layer by layer through a nozzle onto a platform until the three-dimensional object has been made. "3D printing was first introduced in the 1980s. 3D printing is primarily used for making models of parts. It is especially good at prototyping, making a new design for parts. If a part doesn't work, it is a very simple thing to go back and make a small change to design and try again. It can be used to make parts for small appliances, parts for antique cars that are no longer made, and parts for rocket ships and space stations. It is frequently used by hobbyists to make parts for model railroads or dollhouses. Recently, 3D printers were used to make parts for face shields to protect our healthcare workers and first responders in the COVID-19 pandemic. 3D printing is a type of additive manufacturing that is distinct from subtractive manufacturing. In additive manufacturing, you build a design using exactly the amount of material you need, layer by layer, with high precision and low cost. In subtractive manufacturing, you begin with a solid block of material and carve away what isn't needed until you have the shape that you want. Additive manufacturing is very precise and good at fine detail. It is also economical since you use just the materials you need. A downside is that the object may not be as strong. With subtractive manufacturing, the object is stronger since it is built from a solid material, but it is often harder to get precision and detail. On to the next slide. How can 3D printing change our future? There's a lot of experimentation with new applications for 3D printing. One exciting application is the building of human tissue, like a heart valve. People have used special modified printers with two nozzles, one that prints out the design using a special biopolymer, and the second which deposits human cells onto the matrix. Those cells can be taken from the patient and grown in culture so the patient's immune cells recognize it and doesn't attack it. Building more complex organs like a kidney or a liver is not possible with the current technology, but probably someday. Another exciting application is using very large 3D printers to build large objects, including whole houses with large nozzles that will deposit cement or bricks or other building materials to build walls and floors according to the computerized design. These printers are able to build homes quickly and efficiently, and cheaper than the homes that are built now. This could make homes available to the poor and homeless. This is a video of a 3D printer 3D printing a house. Such printers can build in an hour what 2 bricklayers could build in a day. So when the 3D printer 3D prints the wall, it comes out like a sausage, but later you can either flatten it with special tools or like that, or the 3D printer can have a little wedge on the side that flattens it, like there. Okay. So what did I make? For this project, I wanted to increase my skill in designing objects. I designed multiple objects using CADing software called Fusion 360. The first thing I made was very simple. It was a wedge doorstop. It was a really easy design and print just to make sure. That was a very simple design and print just to make sure the system was working. Then I tried more complicated design, a spaceship that had overhangs with the design. Overhangs are part of the design that projects outward from a narrower base. They are a little tricky because the melted down polymer could droop before it solidifies and alter the shape of the design. Sometimes that can be solved by printing the object upside down, but if there is an overhang, no matter which way you print it, if you print, you need another solution. So what you can do is have the printer build its own supports or scaffolding for which the overhang can be which can be easily removed. I tried that for my rocket design, but the first time I wasn't able to get the supports off without breaking it. The second time I used a program that puts the supports in for you. Finally, I made a holder for my cell phone with an adjustable base. I made 2 prototypes. One that would sit on a table, and another that could be attached to a fan in a car. In all, wouldn't you agree that 3D printing is fun, and it's a great way to spend your time? Okay, that's it.
Awesome.
Any questions?
That was great. Thank you, Adrian. Very cool. 3D printing sounds like it has so many uses and things that you can do with it. So that's awesome. Was really nice to get to learn about it. Adrian, if you want to turn on your video so we can see you, that would be awesome. Cool. And then there's some questions. So thank you guys for using those virtual hands. And then don't forget to unmute yourself and I will call on you. So Fallon, what's your question?
I was wondering if there was any limit to the materials that you could use in the 3D printer?
Well, if it can be melted into if it can be melted and then when it's printed it can dry, then it can be used.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Liam.
So is Fusion 360 a type of printer or is it a program?
It's a program. My type of printer is an Ender. Well, it's an Ender printer.
Cool.
It's really good at printing those overhangs.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I have a question for you, maybe as some other people are thinking. How did it go that first time you said you made the doorstop? Did it go smoothly? Were there any hiccups? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was really easy. I just made the design and it worked right away.
Wow, cool. Is this your first time using a 3D printer or do you have some experience with it?
I have about a year of experience.
That's awesome. And do you think you're going to continue to use the 3D printer and try to make more things?
Yes, I think I will.
Yeah, do you have any ideas yet?
Well, I was thinking, I play D&D a lot, and I was thinking of printing some D&D dice.
Very cool. That's awesome. Audience members, does anyone else have any questions for Adrian? All right. Thank you, Adrian. That was an awesome presentation. And to all of our presenters, phenomenal job. Great work throughout the entire year preparing these projects, putting so much time and effort into them. And I can tell that everyone had tons of research and thought put into it. Everyone faced their own different sets of challenges as well as successes and triumphs and accomplishments. So I hope you all feel very proud of yourself and awesome job getting on here, figuring out technology. We threw another, kind of new thing at you. So good job presenting on Teams. I know that was not easy for everyone to figure out as we've moved to distance learning. So awesome job learning new skills from your project and from presenting on Teams. I suppose I can take off my video now so you can see me, so you can see who's talking, as I'm still trying to learn how to do all this. But I just wanted to say great job to everyone. You did it. You guys have 1 week of school left. Your presentations are over, so good job. If anyone has any last questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, have an awesome rest of your Monday and last week of school. Yes, well done, everyone. Good job, you guys. And you are free to go. You may sign off.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Slattengren.
You're welcome, Miss Isak. You're welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.